Welcome to Fan for Racing Radio. I'm Fan for Racing Sharon, and joining me today is Jay Huseman. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you, Sharon. And I know we're getting ready to talk about Martinsville, race number 7, the 2026, but it's the 155th race at Martinsville in NASCAR's series history. That's a lot of racing.
It is one of the oldest tracks in the series. And we're calling it No Mercy Martinsville this week. Its short track chaos is going to start returning to the NASCAR Cup Series. It's a half-mile short track, and that means tempers, bump and runs, and chase style intensity, even this early in the year, because there's tight corners, heavy braking, contact is inevitable. Track position and pit strategy will be everything at Martinsville. There'll be controlled aggression, and it often separates the winners from the wreckers. So can Denny Hamlin reassert his Martinsville dominance? He's still one of the best ever at Martinsville. Last spring, he dominated, leading 274 laps en route to a victory. He's looking to prove last year wasn't just a one-off, and it's an opportunity to grab early season momentum in 2026. Rising contenders gaining momentum. Several drivers are turning upward this weekend. Drivers like Ty Gibbs with multiple top tens and strong recent finishes emerging as a weekly threat. Martinsville could be a breakout or a statement race for somebody like Ty Gibbs. Team Penske is searching for consistency. Team Penske had a shaky start to 26, but signs of life appeared at Darlington. Austin Cindric, for the first time, scored a top 5 finish last week, and the team insists there's no panic despite the early struggles. You had Ryan Blaney, who has been pretty consistent, but then he was racing up toward the front, but Joey Logano was all the way in the back. Martinsville is a prove-it race for that entire organization. There's early season pressure under the new points format. The return of the chase format in 26 changes a lot. No more winning you're in safety net. Consistency matters more now than ever before. And wins are worth 55 points, but points accumulation is the key because you can also get stage points. People are trying to fill up their points bank. Track specialists and new gen drivers. Martinsville often favors experience, veteran drivers who understand the braking zones and the race craft, drivers who know how to manage long green flag runs. But the question, can younger drivers like Ty Gibbs steal one from the established short track masters? So we'll talk about that. Strategy, tires, and long runs. Same tire setup as last fall, designed for more wear and fall off. Long green runs could reward drivers who manage their tires the best. Pit strategy and avoiding pit road mistakes, that's been huge this year, will be decisive. We've had some really good pit crews, but we've had some that really need to improve their performance. Martinsville is where rivalries heat up. Veterans try to reassert control. Rising stars try to break through. And the 26 chase picture starts to take shape as it does every race this season. So, Jay, it's going to be a no mercy Martinsville, I think, this weekend.
It is, and a couple of things popped into mind there as you were talking of, that contact inevitable, and that includes contact with the wall. Although it is now illegal, it has been shown you can contact the wall and gain positions. But again, the Hail Melon has been outlawed if you're a fan of recent Martinsville races. And then you talk about the temper situation, and I just think about it. We've had some situations already on pit road this year and some rivalries that the tempers have already reached a boiling point. They're not going to get any better at Martinsville.
No. Okay, so the race is called the Cookout 400 this weekend at Martinsville Speedway. We mentioned that it's a half-mile track. It's exactly 0.526 mile asphalt oval. The race is Sunday, March the 29th, starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's on Fox Sports 1 and Fox Deportes starting at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So there's going to be some pre-race coverage available there. Radio coverage is on MRN and Sirius XM NASCAR Channel 90. They will race that distance of 210.4 miles over 400 laps. Stage 1 ends on lap 80. Stage 2 on lap 180, so that's a 100-mile stage. And then the final stage is 220 laps, and that ends on lap 400. Now, they will have their practice and Busch Light pole qualifying on Prime, MRN, and Sirius XM at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And that is on Prime Video and MRN Sirius XM. The race, as we mentioned, is on Sunday at 3:30 p.m. with pre-race coverage starting at 2. So, Jay, this is, have you looked at the entry list here?
I have. And talking about qualifying there, it's not as pressure-packed of making the race, as we only have 37 teams signed up, your 36 chartered teams, as well as an open team, and that's the number 33 of Austin Hill for Richard Childress Racing. But qualifying is very vital and important because of pit road selection at a track like Martinsville. And we talked about it in the opening monologue of gaining positions after maybe a pit struggle, flat tire, whatever it be. That's really, really tough at Martinsville. So you want to have the best pit selection and get out first so you don't have to try and work your way through the field, because that will lead to more of that contact we were talking about.
It definitely will. And like they said, contact is inevitable here. So don't expect anything less than that. I'm going to bring up our notes here so that you can see our notes as we kind of go through what's going on here in the NASCAR Cup Series for this week. And I'll tell you, William Byron has some dominance here. He's won 3 of the last 8 Martinsville races, including the most recent race that was last October. He won the pole, he swept both stages, and he won the race at Martinsville last October. And 664 laps led at Martinsville are his most at any track. So he's won 2 of the last 4 short track races. But a lot of people have been asking, Jay, where is William Byron? Usually he shows up with a win in the first 5 races. We're going into race 7, and he has not had a win yet.
No, again, he's done it at Daytona the past couple years, and yeah, this year, especially for the Chevys and Hendrick Motorsports as a whole. But you see the laps led. When we talk about Martinsville in the next-gen car, the only one above William Byron is Denny Hamlin at 735. We know his prowess at Martinsville. Then you got William Byron at 655. Dropped down almost over 100. No, not quite. 98. Chase Elliott at 557. And then another huge drop down to Ryan Blaney at 359. Another 100-plus, Kyle Larson at 255. So that tells you how tough it is to be out front, and you need to be out front. When you mentioned most laps led at a track, Martinsville by far the best for William Byron at 664, down to Charlotte at 485, and we've seen some good runs at Charlotte for him. And then 363 at Las Vegas, Phoenix 341, and Darlington 331. But I mentioned Denny Hamlin. Let's talk about his mastery.
Yes. Denny Hamlin also has some mastery here at Martinsville. 6 Martinsville wins, including the race last year. He got a 6th Martinsville win last March, the spring race. He had 19 starts there between win 5 and win 6. So it was a little while since he had last won, but he did make a win. 2,722 laps led at Martinsville are his most at a track, and that's overall. He finished top 5 in 5 of the last 7 Martinsville races. So he is good at Martinsville, and I'm sure his name is going to pop up along with William Byron's in the fantasy report on Friday.
I am certain it will. If not, y'all aren't hitting the mark. We'll just say that. Now, look at Hamlin's rankings among all Cup tracks. Martinsville, he's got 6 wins. That puts it second on the list. Top fives is 21 at the top, as well as top tens of 27. The laps led 2,722. And then also 8 stage wins. The 4 poles ties him for second amongst any track. And he's been around. Again, Pocono is one of his better tracks, but Martinsville and Richmond, when we get there, we'll look at it, see where that ranks in.
Yes. Moving on to Denny Hamlin's most laps led by a track. Richmond is number 2. Martinsville is the number on here at 2,722 in 40 starts with 6 wins. Richmond at 2,367, 37 starts and 5 wins. Bristol comes in at 1,202 with 37 starts and 4 wins. Then it drops down a little bit here. Phoenix at 1,152, 42 starts, 2 wins. And at Darlington, 1,022, 28 starts and 5 wins at Darlington. So we'll see what he does this week out at Martinsville.
Now, Pocono is not on there. I know it's a good track for him, but apparently not in leading laps. That kind of surprised me there. Look at drivers from the state of Virginia. Denny Hamlin right now building a legacy with his career wins at 61. You got Joe Weatherly with 25, Ricky Rudd 23, Jeff Burton at 21, and Curtis Turner with 17. So those are your top 5 Virginia drivers.
Okay, Kyle Larson is part of this conversation as well. Kyle Larson won at Martinsville in April of 23. He finished top 6 in the last 7 Martinsville races. 7 of Kyle Larson's 9 top 6 finishes at Martinsville came in the last 7 races, including his only win there in April of 23. And keep in mind, when you're thinking about the next-gen car, he won 2 of the last 8 short track races. Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson each finished top 5 in the last 4 Martinsville races, the longest active top 5 streak at the track. So that's interesting.
And not only are you comparing the next-gen car, when we're looking at this next block of stats, the last 7 races at Martinsville versus his prior 15, some of that might even go prior to Hendrick Motorsports, which makes a huge difference. But he does have that 1 win compared to none, 3 top 2s over none. Top 5s was 6 versus 2, top 10s, 7 versus 3. He's got 1 stage win, and there was none prior in the 15 previous. Average start, a huge drop, 6.0 from a 12.07. And here's the most important. His previous 15 races, average finish was 20.47. It's down to 3.4. Man, you can't get much better than that. A little bit, but not much. The laps led 255 over 112, and then 2 poles with none prior. And I say, I think a big part of that does have to do with coming to Hendrick Motorsports. I don't know what they got or know about that track, but that disperses to all of their drivers.
It certainly does. Let's talk about Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney won 2 of the last 5 Martinsville races. He finished top 2 in 5 of the last 12 Martinsville races. His 4.25 average finish at Martinsville in the next-gen car is best among active drivers. He also has 6 top 5 finishers at Martinsville in the next-gen car. He's tied for the most in that category.
And when you break down the 2025 short track season, he had 6 starts, didn't have any wins, but 1 second, 5 top 5s, 5 top 10s, led 323 laps. Average start was 16.0, and that's okay, but the average finish, 4.83, and then a total of 256 points. And I don't know if fans can see, let's see, top 5s, top 10s, average finish, and points are all bolded because that is best among active drivers. And another one that the laps led, Martinsville ranking up on the top of the list for Mr. Blaney. 731 at Martinsville, 585 at Bristol. Phoenix, again, is kind of that short track right at the 1 mile mark at 491. And then Texas at 451. Most of his were at short tracks. Again, Phoenix, the one right in the middle of questionable. I got to say, this is the best average finish at Martinsville in the next-gen car. This kind of surprised me to see Blaney at the top of it at 4.25. Kyle Larson at 5.38. Joey Logano, 5.88. Needs to turn that around this weekend, I'll tell you that.
Yes.
Chase Elliott, 7.38. Hendrick Motorsports. Ross Chastain, another one that kind of surprised me, 8.5. And then William Byron at 9.25. But I think, again, Byron is kind of like Kyle Larson of going in a good direction from his previous starts.
Okay, Chase Elliott is another driver that we have to talk about here. He has some excellence. He won at Martinsville in November of 2020. He finished top 4 in the last 4 Martinsville races. He's led 1,275 laps at Martinsville. That's the most at a track for him. He finished in the top 5 in the last 4 Martinsville races, and he's also tied for the longest active top 5 finish streak at the track. Chase Elliott's average finish at 10.3 is his best through 6 races since 2017. Jay, after talking about these names, I am getting super excited about what's going to happen at Martinsville. There's a lot of really good drivers there.
It used to be of kind of a, you either knew Martinsville, and there were several that went on dominant streaks. And we do still see Hendrick Motorsports as an organization, but I don't feel like any one driver owns it anymore like they used to. We talked about Hamlin had a streak, as did HMS drivers, but you're right. I think this is going to be a wild one this weekend. Now, breaking down Chase Elliott, top 10 finishes by track. Martinsville at the top with 14, 13 at Kansas, 11 at Phoenix, Dover, and Pocono. What I like there is a variety of styles of tracks. Laps led, Martinsville at the top there by double amount, 1,275. Then Dover, 632, 583 for Phoenix, and Bristol, 444. What I don't see there is any road courses. That's a little surprising, being he was a road course ace at one point.
Yes, but not in the next-gen car.
And that, you're right, absolutely. We've talked about that. This next-gen car has kind of hindered that. But I think we see him finding what he was missing. And this chase format, the consistency is really starting to shine through for Chase Elliott. And that's shown in his best average finish through 6 races. Mentioned 2026 being his second best at 10.3. 2017 was a 7.8. But then 2022, it was 11 flat. 2019, 12 flat. And 2025, a 12.8.
Yes, and 22 is when we have the next-gen cars. So you can see the difference there. Joey Logano, you got to talk about Joey Logano. He had a horrible race last week at Darlington. But let's talk about his Martinsville consistency and see how that plays out this week. He finished top 10 in the last 13 Martinsville races. That's the 4th longest streak all time at the track, and his longest streak at any track. His only Martinsville win was in 2018. That's pre-next gen. 34 consecutive races running at the finish at Martinsville is the 4th longest streak of all time.
Wow. He also has the longest active top 10 streak at 13. Next closest there is Kyle Larson at 7. Then you see Chase Elliott 4. You got Ross Chastain with 3. Christopher Bell, Todd Gillen, Ryan Preece all on 2. But you mentioned that longest race running at the finish streak. Jeff Gordon at 46. And you want to talk about one of the all-time masters at Martinsville. And that's what kind of going back to. We don't see that kind of dominance all the way around. But Ryan Newman also had 37. Gordon's streak kind of ended when his teammate and Jimmy Johnson came along. He had a streak of 34, which is where Joey Logano's at with his active streak. So, again, he could continue to build that, get above Jimmy Johnson, and look to catch Ryan Newman. I don't know if you're catching Jeff Gordon there, though.
Yeah, Jeff Gordon's hard to catch on that category. Okay, the longest top 10 streaks at Martinsville all time, Jimmy Johnson, length 17, starting in 2002 October, going to 2010 October. So that's pretty interesting. Jeff Gordon, 15, is second from 2003 to 2010. And they did have a long stretch there where they were just dominant at Martinsville. Then Lee Petty with 14. He's no longer active Well, neither of these three are active. Joey Logano is the only active driver, but his went from 1949 September to 1956 May. And then Joey Logano has 13, again, October of 2019, and it is currently active. So we'll see if he can keep that active. I hope he doesn't repeat what happened at Darlington last week.
Well, and I got to tell you, this is one of those sneaky stats of, I knew he was good at Martinsville, only having the one win. We don't look at him as that dominant like we saw with Hendrick Motorsports, Jimmy Johnson, and Jeff Gordon, but he is always in it as the streak shows. So that's actually a little bit surprising, I guess, just because you don't see the wins in that category.
Okay, let's talk about Hendrick Motorsports. We talked about how dominant they have been.
You have to when to talk about Martinsville. They are the only team to lead over 10,000 laps at a track, and they have 11,455 led at Martinsville, and we saw that by the drivers we've talked about. 30 wins at Martinsville are the most ever by a team at a track. They won 6 of the last 11 Martinsville races. And this is what keys to me, 4 different drivers. Like I said, they spread it out throughout the organization. And going back, if you know your history, they won its first of 320 Cup races at Martinsville back in April of 1984 with Jeff Bodine. If you get a chance to watch the little video clip of the beginning of Hendrick Motorsport and how it almost came to an end before it got started, that's a good story there with Jeff Bodine.
It is. Okay, now the most wins by a team all time at a track. We talked about that, 30 wins, and that's at Martinsville. They've got 22, and that's the most at that track, which is Dover. Junior Johnson and Associates have 21 at Bristol, as do Hendrick Motorsports at Charlotte. So they're on this list 3 times at 3 different tracks as the most led by a team all time. That's pretty amazing.
And it is. And for fans that are watching this, I'm going to put a challenge out there. Find out for me who the associates are. And I don't know that I've ever seen it listed as Junior Johnson and Associates. Then again, maybe we don't want to know who his associates were back then. Now, looking at first for Hendrick Motorsports win by a season the last 5 years. This has been an off year. 2021, William Byron picked it up in race number 3 at Miami. Then Kyle Larson did in 22 in race number 2 out at California. In 23, 24, and 25, it was William Byron each of those years. 23, it was race number 3, which was at Las Vegas that year. And then, as I mentioned, 24 and 25 did it right out the gate at Daytona. Now, Hendrick Motorsports has scored their first win of the season at Martinsville 3 times. Going back to that Jeff Bodine in 84, Jeff Gordon in 2003, and Jimmy Johnson in 2009. So
maybe that's
they need it this year. Yep, they need it.
That win this year, so maybe it'll happen at Martinsville. Let's talk about Tyler Reddick now. What a season he's been having with early season dominance. Tyler Reddick can become the second driver to win 5 of the season's first 7 races. The only other driver to do it was Dale Earnhardt in 1987. And he has been putting his name among some elites with his performance so far this season. We'll see if he can add his name to this one. Tyler Reddick has 189 laps led in 2026. He led only 169 laps in all of 2025. His average finish at 4.2 is the best through 6 races since 2019, when Kyle Busch had an average finish at an astounding 2.7. That's incredible. Now, for the first time since 1980, the race winner started the first 3 of the first 6 races. Tyler Reddick at Atlanta, Coda, and Darlington. The race winner started the first 3. So that's the first time since 1980.
And you mentioned the list he is getting on, and it's getting narrower and narrower. Drivers to win 4 of a season's first 6 races. Dale Earnhardt in 87. Race number 7 was at Bristol, and Earnhardt got a first place finish. Bill Elliott in 1982. Race number 7 was North Wilkesboro. He finished 20th. And now Tyler Reddick has a shot to try and tie with Dale Earnhardt at Martinsville. Earnhardt is the only driver to win 5 of the first 7 races. but Tyler Reddick has never finished top 5 at Martinsville in 12 starts. His best finish is 7th. And that's where I was like, I didn't know if they were going to give that stat. I didn't feel like it was one of his better tracks, but look at what he's done so far this year after coming off no wins last year. So I would not rule it out that he has the career best this weekend.
I was just going to say, don't let that stat deceive you, because he has been exceeding his previous performance by a lot. Okay, 23 Racing's historic start. For 23 Racing, 4 wins in 26 are their most in a season. The organization is the 9th team in Cup Series history to win 4 of the season's first 6 races, and the first since 2018 when Stewart Haas Racing did that. 23 Racing can become only the 2nd team to win 5 of the season's first 7 races. It was Richard Childress Racing back in 1987. That's the team that Dale Earnhardt raced for. And 23 Racing is the only team with at least one car finishing top 10 in each of the 6 races so far this season. So that's why I say you can't necessarily go by previous stats where Tyler Reddick is concerned, because he is blowing the doors off of his previous performance.
And this shows it for the season for 23-11, the wins 4 all by Reddick, the top 5s all by Reddick at 4, top 10s, 10 of them, 5 of them, which is half by Reddick, and then laps led 283, 189 of them by Reddick. Bubba Wallace also having a very good year, and we saw those flashes from Riley Herbst. Unfortunately, didn't get the finish there at Darlington. I thought that was kind of his breakout race to add to this team.
Okay, now teams to win 4 of the season's first 6 races. Let's talk about that. Some of these teams I've never heard of. Carl Kiekhofer in 1956 from West Palm Beach. Their 7th race best finish was 2nd with Buck Baker. Peter DePaulo Racing in 1957, Hillsboro finished 11th with Marvin Ponch. Richard Childress Racing, that's that one that we've been talking about in 1987 at Bristol, where Dale Earnhardt ended up finishing 1st and creating a record. Junior Johnson and Associates in 1992 at North Wilkesboro finished 8th with Sterling Marlin. Hendrick Motorsports in 1995 at North Wilkesboro finished 2nd with Jeff Gordon. Hendrick Motorsports again in 2007 at Texas finished 4th with Jeff Gordon. Stewart Haas Racing in 2018, Texas, they finished 2nd with Kevin Harvick. And 2311 this year at Martinsville, it's yet to be determined if they're going to match that 1987 race with Dale Earnhardt or not. So we'll see what happens. Again, Richard Childress Racing is the only team to win 5 of the season's first 7 races. So very interesting.
Now, we talk about Tyler Reddick. Who's he drive for? Toyota. The manufacturer dominance, they have won 5 of the first 6 races in 2026. The first manufacturer with 5 wins through 6 races since Chevrolet did it back in 2007. 8 of the 9 previous times that a manufacturer won at least 5 of the first 6 races, they went on to win race number 7. So that bodes well for the manufacturer. It's a matter of what driver does it.
Okay, now recent manufacturers that won at least 5 of the first 6 races. Let's look at the manufacturers here. This goes back quite a ways. Hudson did it twice in 1952 and 54, 6 in 52, 5 and 6, 54. Did they win the race? No, at Lakewood. Yes, at North Wilkesboro in 54. Pontiac in 1962 had 5 wins. Yes, at Asheville, Weaversville. Ford in 1965 had 5, and they did win their race at Richmond. And then Buick in 1981 had 5 wins. Yes, they won at North Wilkesboro. And in Ford again in 1992 had 6, and they won again at North Wilkesboro. Chevrolet, a couple of 3 straight years here in 95, 96, and again in 2007. They had 6. They did win at Wilkesboro in 95. 95 and 96, they did win again at North Wilkesboro. And in 2007, they had 5, and yes, they did win at Texas. So that's interesting. That's where that stat comes in for Jeff Gordon. Toyota in 26, they've got 5 so far. So we'll see if they can get that 6th win at Martinsville. 8 of the 9 previous manufacturers that won at least 5 of the season's first 6 races won race number 7. So that's interesting. The odds favor him in that regard, but his stats don't necessarily favor that happening.
Well, and I think about it, the organization, yes, and we see that they do generally continue that. But when I look at that track, it does seem to favor Chevrolet based on Hendrick Motorsports. And you also mentioned Joey Logano with the Ford. So yes. I'm kind of torn there. I was like, yeah, it leans towards them, but it's not other than you got Denny Hamlin. And again, Tyler Reddick having a breakout year with it could set his own standard.
So in essence, you're saying there's not a decisive stat here.
Yeah, I would not put money on that one because that one's a tough one. Just the competition is tough. It's tough. So let's look at all manufacturer performance. Chevrolet, 108 starts, no wins, but 11 top 5s, 20 top 10s, and 261 laps led. Ford with 62 starts, 1 win, but 6 top 5s, 16 top 10s, and 418 laps led. Toyota with the least amount of starts, 56, but they got 5 of those wins. 13, they lead top 5s. 24, they lead top 10s, and they dominate with laps led at 759. And that shows Toyota leading more laps in 2026 at 759 is more than Chevrolet and Ford combined, which is only 679. And this is interesting, not just for Hendrick Motorsports, but Chevrolet. The last time Chevrolet was winless after 6 races goes back to 2019.
And I will say the one thing that is unique to Chevrolet this year is that they have a body change that they're dealing with. I believe they changed the nose of the Chevrolet, and that might be impacting their stats this year.
Was 2019 when the ZL1 Camaro came out? Because I know they kind of struggled then too.
Yeah.
It was in that time frame. I think that might be.
I think it might be. Okay, now notable individual performances. I'll start with Kyle Busch, Jay, and you can go to the next one. Kyle Busch's struggles. Kyle Busch's average finish of 21.2 is his worst through 6 races since his rookie season in 2005. That is astounding. His best finish this season is a 12th place finish at COTA. He has 2 wins at Martinsville, but the last was in 2017. So that's pre-next-gen car. He finished outside the top 10 in the last 7 Martinsville races, which is amazing, and on a 15-race streak without a short track top 10 finish. So this next-gen car has not been kind to Kyle Busch at all.
I knew it was a struggle, but yeah, those were some rough stats to give out there, especially coming into Martinsville.
There was a time when everybody thought Kyle Busch was the next best thing. So
yeah, unbeatable really, almost.
Yes, it's really amazing to see those kind of stats for him.
Now we got a milestone as Brad Keselowski will make his 600th career start this weekend. Only Richard Petty won in his 600th start, and that was at Richmond in 1973. Some other drivers in their notable finish, Darrell Waltrip in his 600 start in 94, finished 3rd at Atlanta. Jeff Gordon 3rd at Chicago in 2010. Kyle Busch 3rd at Las Vegas in 2021. And Tony Stewart 5th at Kentucky in 2016. And then Kurt Busch 5th at Bristol in 2017. So if you're picking Brad Keselowski this weekend, pick him 3rd or 5th.
Okay, Martinsville track statistics. Jay mentioned it earlier. This is the 155th race at Martinsville, the second most at any track behind Daytona. So Martinsville is the only track that hosted a race every season from 1949 to 2025, and now 26 is this year. And the one of 2 original tracks from 1949 currently on the schedule. The other track would be North Wilkesboro. Martinsville is the first of 7 short track races this season. That's tied with 2024 for the most in a single year since 1996. Now we'll get into some of the specific stats here about Martinsville winners and tracks.
And you talked about that, the historic tracks. Obviously, Daytona, where it began, if you will, at 158, Martinsville right there at 154. Then you go down to the 130s, Richmond 137, Darlington 130, Charlotte and Bristol right there at 127 as well, and Atlanta at 124. But on the right, we're talking about Martinsville, and especially when we're talking about manufacturers and teams. Denny Hamlin does lead, so that bodes well for Toyota. He's got the 6 wins. William Byron with 3, we mentioned him. Then Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, and Ryan Blaney with 2 each. Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, and Christopher Bell. And I didn't key in on Bell with Toyota. I knew he had the 1 win. It just hasn't been his strongest track, but he too is starting to right the ship as JGR is starting to come back to the front.
Yes, indeed. Okay, now short track performance and stats. The last 7 short track races had 7 different pole setters. That's the longest streak since 2004-05 season. 3 25 short track pole sitters finished in the top 2, with William Byron winning last October at Martinsville, while the other 3 all finished 35th or worse. The first time Cup winner on a short track was Casey Kane at Richmond. That came in May of 2005, 120 short track races ago. So a first time Cup winner, that is a long time ago, Jay. The driver who led the most laps won 8 of the last 13 short track races. So that's a good stat to hang on to.
And when we look at the short track winners in 2025 across the board, from stages to the race winner, we'll go back to March at Martinsville. Joey Logano picked up stage 1. Then it was Denny Hamlin in stage 2 who went on to win the race for Joe Gibbs Racing. At Bristol in May, it was Kyle Larson across the board for Hendrick Motorsports. Iowa, which falls into that short track category, Brad Keselowski went in stage 1 and 2, but William Byron went in the race for HMS. Then at Richmond, it was Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace dominating and getting stage 1 and 2, but Austin Dillon picking up the win for RCR.
Wasn't that the race that Austin Dillon kind of knocked out everybody that was competing at the front?
I believe so. I believe there was some controversy and discussion about that win. But then at Bristol, it was Ryan Blaney and Ty Gibbs picking up the stage wins, but Christopher Bell getting the victory for Joe Gibbs Racing. That one had 3 different drivers involved in it as well. But then we go back to Martinsville, and it was a Hendrick sweep with William Byron. Stage 1, 2, and the victory. Again, you see the names. We've talked about them all, I think, so far through here. Short track racing is a technique and a skill set.
And I would say there is some sensitivities between the spring race and the fall race. It races a little bit different in the spring than it does in the fall.
And that is very true, yes.
We'll take a look at the most points earned on short tracks in 25 in over 6 races. Ryan Blaney at the top of that list, doesn't surprise me, 256. Next closest is William Byron at 215. Christopher Bell at 202. Kyle Larson below 200 at 195. Ty Gibbs, 190. Brad Keselowski, 187. Joey Logano, 183. Then it goes to Chase Briscoe at 166 and Denny Hamlin at 162. The most laps led on short tracks in 2025. William Byron at the top of this list, 445 laps. His best finish was first twice. Kyle Larson led 420 laps, finishing first. Ryan Blaney, 323 laps, but he finished in second place. Denny Hamlin, 277 laps, finishing first. Chase Briscoe led 208 laps and finished second. Ty Gibbs, 201 laps, finishing third. Bubba Wallace, 135 laps, finishing third. Austin Dillon, 107 laps, finished first. Brad Keselowski, 103 laps led, and he finished in second place.
When we look at some streaks here, Longest top 10 streaks on the short tracks. Ryan Blaney on a streak of 5. Joey Logano with 4. Christopher Bell building up on one with 2. And then when we look at the organizations, I mentioned Hendrick Motorsports, 62 wins on short track. Joe Gibbs Racing there behind him at 50, and another gap down to Penske at 36. When you look at manufacturers then, and as Sharon's pointed out, this is in the next-gen car now with 23 races. It's a little bit tighter. Chevrolet 10 wins, but Toyota has 7 and 6 for Ford. I love that, and that's what the next-gen car was designed for, was to spread it out amongst everybody, make it a little bit more competitive, and I think it's done a great job with that.
Okay, now short track wins among active drivers. Kyle Busch at the top of that list. He has 16 wins. His last win came in April of 2019. That's pre-next gen car. Denny Hamlin has 15 wins. His last win came in March of last year. Brad Keselowski was 7. He won in September of 2020, pre-next gen. Kyle Larson has 6. His last win came in the spring race of 25. Joey Logano, 5. His latest win was in October of 2018 at Martinsville. William Byron has 4. His last win came in October of last year. Ryan Blaney, 3. His last win came in November of 24. Alex Bowman with 2, October of 21. Chris Buescher with 2, Richmond in July of 23. Austin Dillon, 2, Richmond, September of 25. Christopher Bell, 2, September last year. And Chase Elliott, Martinsville, has 1, and that came in November of 2020, pre-next gen car. Now, this is your next gen wins on short tracks. Denny Hamlin at the top of the list with 5. You've got Kyle Larson and William Byron with 4. Ryan Blaney with 3. Chris Buescher and Austin Dillon, along with Christopher Bell with 2. And Kevin Harvick with 1.
And I like that, just seeing it spread out. You got a couple that are pretty good at it with Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, and William Byron, but it is spread out. It's not one dominant, yes. And I like to see that. Now we're going to look at some recent race trends and statistics. 6 of the last 9 Martinsville races have been won from a starting position of 11 or worse. And I know this is actually opposite of what we talked about earlier, kind of surprising. But the race winner has run no worse than 9th in stage 1 at Martinsville and in the top 5 in stage 2 in 15 of the 18 races with stages. So you got to get up front and get there early. Each of the last 3 races at Martinsville has had at least 9 cautions. The driver leading the most laps won 3 of the last 4. And all but 3 of the last 78 races at Martinsville, dating all the way back to 1987, were won by a driver with at least 100 career Cup Series starts. Denny Hamlin did it before his 100th start back in March of 08. Kurt Busch did it in October of 02, and Tony Stewart in 2000 in October. There's another one of those tracks that really, you may hit it early on, but normally it takes some experience. Now, 4 of the 6 short track races in 2025 had 10 or more cautions, and that does include both of last year's Martinsville races.
And all of those wins that came under 100 starts were way before the next-gen cars, so that's kind of interesting too. Okay, now pit road performance. There were 8 speeding penalties at Martinsville last March and 4 in October. So they cut it down from 8 to 4 on pit road performance, so that's a good thing. William Byron became the first driver since Jimmy Johnson in April of 2013 to win from pit stall number 1 at Martinsville when he won last fall. There was 24 races in between those 2 drivers and their wins.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting, being that we talk about pit stall 1, it used to be really dominant, but also then the first time winners for tracks. No surprise, Daytona has the most at 24. Talladega is second, tied for second with 12 with Martinsville, and then Charlotte at 10. And while Martinsville has produced 12 first-time winners, which is tied for second most all time, it's only produced 1 first-time winner in the last 83 races. And that goes back to Ricky Craven in October of '01. On the right, you can see the first-time drivers. I'm not going to give their dates, but I'll run through the names. Herb Thomas, Dick Rathman, Jim Pascal, Jack Smith, Bob Wellborn, Fred Lorenzen, Earl Ross, Dave Marcus, Morgan Shepherd, Harry Gant, Jeff Bodine, and Ricky Craven. And again, I just think about the veteran skill of those drivers to get that first win at Martinsville.
All right, let's talk about the next-gen performance at Martinsville, because that's what really counts in this particular situation. William Byron has 3, Ryan Blaney 2. They've combined to win 5 of the 8 next-gen races at Martinsville. 10 drivers led at least 100 laps at Martinsville in the next-gen car. 5 of the 10 won in that car, and 6 drivers have top 10 average finish at Martinsville in the next-gen car, led by Ryan Blaney with that 4.25.
You're going to see a lot of these same names. We'll look at most top 5 finishes in the next-gen car at Martinsville. Ryan Blaney and Kyle Larson at the top with 6 each. Then you have Denny Hamlin with 5, Chase Elliott at 4, Ross Chastain, Joey Logano, William Byron with 3, and then you got Christopher Bell, Chase Briscoe, and Bubba Wallace with 2. When we look at the most laps in the run in the top 5, 2,231 for Chase Elliott, 1,933 for Denny Hamlin, 1,800 for Kyle Larson, 1,610 for Ryan Blaney, William Byron with 1,462, and just over 1,068 for Chase Briscoe. If you're running in the top 5, you're running in the top 10. Kyle Larson leads that category, 2,973. Denny Hamlin, 2,798. 2,702 for both Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney. And then it's a 500-lap drop-off there. Chase Briscoe, 2,296. Joey Logano, 2,240. So there's your look at your top 10. I don't know if that helps you pick the winner, but running up front, those names were all the same.
Yes, they are. Okay, now it's time for us to look at the season's performance so far with individual driver trends. Now, stage 1 went caution-free in the last 5 races this year. Christopher Bell leads all drivers with 225 laps led so far this season. He led only 282 laps in all of 2025. 26 of 35 drivers to run all 6 races have at least one top 10 finish. And Cole Custer is the only full-time driver without a top 20 finish so far this season. That makes me sad for Cole Custer. I think he struggles with that next-gen car.
Yeah, he's another one. You're right. I think that this car just doesn't match well with him.
31 different drivers led this year, the most through 6 races since 2014 when it was 33. Now, 5 full-time drivers had their best finish of the season at Darlington, so that's kind of cool. And 5 drivers finished on the lead lap in all 5 races this season. So those 5 drivers include Tyler Reddick, of course, Chase Elliott, and all 3 of the RFK racing drivers, Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher, and Ryan Preece. And I really like seeing that for RFK because it's been a long time coming for that organization.
It certainly has. Brad Keselowski has certainly turned that ship in a good direction.
He has.
Now, when we look at some other season statistics and records, we have 37 cautions in 2026, which is the fewest through 6 races since 2018, when there was only 32. The driver who led the most laps finished first or second in the last 5 races. And there's been 196 lead changes in 2026. That's the second most all-time after 6 races, after we had 201 last year. Now, this one really throws me for a loop. A stage winner won only once this season. Ryan Blaney won stage 1 at Phoenix and won the race. That really does shock me.
It is kind of shocking.
Now, the last 3 races were won by a driver who had an in-race penalty. This we've talked about overcoming. Blaney, who pitted outside the box at Phoenix, Hamlin speeding at Las Vegas, and then Reddick pitting on a closed pit and too many crew members over the wall at Darlington, as well as his own mechanical cool suit issues. And Sharon mentioned RFK. Their racing average finish of 12.9 is their best through 6 races since 2012. Man, that is unbelievable. It was 10.7 that year.
Wow, that is amazing. Let's talk about the most laps led this year, followed by the laps led by a team this year. Christopher Bell, we've mentioned it. He's at that 225 mark. Again, Tyler Reddick behind him at 189. Brad Keselowski, 156. Denny Hamlin at 152. Then we go to Kyle Larson at 137 and Joey Logano at 111. Laps led by the team. Joe Gibbs Racing at the top of this list by a long shot, 457. Next closest is Tyler Reddick's team, 2311 with 283. Tyler Reddick had 189 of those laps. RFK Racing at 205. Team Penske at 189. And Hendrick Motorsports at 184. Trackhouse Racing hanging in there with 22.
I'm really surprised 2311 wasn't at least closer to Joe Gibbs Racing there, but also then the Hendrick Motorsports. We talked about the Chevrolet this year. Yeah, at the bottom of the multi or triple digit laps. They're at the bottom of that list. And we talked about this of being in the top 5 for 2026 out of the 1,438 laps so far. Tyler Reddick clearly in that at 675, as well as Christopher Bell, 631, and then Kyle Larson at 619. Denny Hamlin at 529, Ryan Blaney at 512. Everybody else is below 500. Bubba Wallace, William Byron, Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher, and Ty Gibbs. On the right side here, the laps run in the top 10. Obviously should be the same drivers for the most part, a little bit different order though. 1,147. That is 11 out of 14 if you just take the first 2 digits for Tyler Reddick. That's impressive. William Byron, the only other one over 1,000 at 1,054. Kyle Larson at 906. Denny Hamlin, 839. Bubba Wallace right behind him, 836. And Ryan Blaney, 820. And we got 4 drivers in the 700s. Chris Buescher, 788. Christopher Bell at 784. And just above 700, Chase Elliott at 714. And Austin Cindric at 703. Yeah, he just, again, doesn't have the results to back it up.
Yes, that's true. It's kind of surprising, though. Okay, now the best average finish in 26 among all drivers in 6 races. Tyler Reddick is obviously at the top with his 4.17. Chase Elliott at 10.33. Ryan Blaney at 10.83. Then you get into the 11s with Brad Keselowski at 11.5. William Byron, 11.83. And Denny Hamlin also at 11.83. Chris Buescher is at 12.5. The worst average 26 races among all drivers in those 6 races. Cody Ware at 28.6. Cole Custer, we talked about the struggles he's had, 27.5. Connor Zilic at 26.0. I'm somewhat surprised, but not a lot surprised. I knew there was going to be a learning curve for him in this next-gen car. Todd Gilliland, surprised there, 25.7. He's had some good runs, so just not the season for him this year. Josh Berry, 25.5. And Austin Cindric increased his with his run at Darlington. He's now at 25.0. 2025 playoff drivers were Josh Berry and Austin Cindric. So they've had a rough start to their season after being in the playoffs last year.
And that goes both ways. Those 2 drivers of being playoff contenders last year and having the rough start, whereas Tyler Reddick went winless last year and again, just tearing off wins left and right this year. So a lot can change in the off season. And we talked about this of how important it is just to finish. Finishing on the lead lap in all 6 races. Tyler Reddick clearly his best finishes first. Daytona, Atlanta, COTA, and Darlington, where he's gotten those victories. But Chase Elliott as well, his best finish is second at Las Vegas. And then you got the bolded RFK cars, all 3 of them there. Brad Keselowski, best finish of second at Darlington. Chris Buescher, 6th at Las Vegas. And Ryan Preece, 9th at Atlanta. And I think that is something that Brad Keselowski, as a driver, coach, and owner, really puts the stress on of take what the car will give you,
Yes.
and finish the race.
Okay, now the 25 playoff drivers outside a chase position, they're drivers who made all 6 starts. Ross Chastain is ranked 20th, 24 points behind where he was last year. Austin Cindric, 21. He's minus 30 points behind. Chase Briscoe in 22nd is down 31 points behind being in chase contention. Austin Dillon is 26. He's 46 points out of chase contention. And Josh Berry at 32nd is 63 points out of chase contention. So those drivers will want to get their seasons turned around as quickly as possible because that consistency early is what propels you through the remainder of the season.
And we'll look at that of both the good and the bad side, to flip from last year. Biggest improvement through the 6 races of 2026 versus 2025. Brad Keselowski had a 13+5 gain. He went from an average finish of 25 down to an 11.5. Right with him, though, Ty Gibbs, 25.7 last year, 13.2 this year. That's a 12.5 gain. Ryan Blaney, again, I wouldn't have thought gained much, but showing a little bit better. I guess his DNFs maybe came early last year. 21.5 to start the season, and now down to a 10.8. That's a gain of 10.7. Shane Van Gisbergen, we have highlighted this. We know it. 26.5 last year to a 16.5 this year. That's a gain of 10 and is impressive. Tyler Reddick, a 12.7 average last year to start the season. Not bad, but has gained 8.5 as he's at that phenomenal 4.2. And then the Hurricane, Carson Hocevar, has gone from a 24.7 to a 16.5, which is a plus 8.2 gain. And I got to do the other side, the decline. And we hit on a couple of these already, but Austin Cindric at the worst end of it, minus 7.5. He went from 17.5 last year to 25.0 this year. Josh Berry right there as well, 7.2 drop. It was 18.3 last year. He's down to a 25.5 this year. Didn't catch this one. Ricky Stenhouse is actually down 7. Was at a 17.3 last year, 24.3 this year. Little drops, 6.8 positions for John Hunter Nemechek. Was 15.7 down to a 22.5. Chase Briscoe almost identical, 6.2. He went from 15.8 to 22.0. And believe it or not, Kyle Larson is down a little bit, 4.5 or a little more than 4.5, 4.7 positions. Last year started with 11.3 average finish. A little bit rougher this year at 16.0. Again, not bad, but not what we expect from somebody like Kyle Larson.
Exactly. I can't wait to see how this Martinsville race goes. Okay, now the most stage points earned through 6 races, including the dual points. You've got Bubba Wallace at the top of the list. He's currently 3rd in the points position, but he's got 60 of his points come from stage points. Ryan Blaney has 54 stage points, and he's in 2nd place. Tyler Reddick, 52. He's in 1st place. Then you've got, so your top 3 drivers are all right there. Kyle Larson has 50 stage points. He's 10th. Christopher Bell, 43 stage points, is in 8th. Chris Buescher has 41 stage points, is in 7th. William Byron, 40 points, in 6th place. Austin Cindric, 36 stage points, but he's back in 21st place. And Chase Elliott, 34 stage points, puts him up in 5th place. So thank goodness Austin Cindric has 36 stage points. He would be further back.
And that just shows you, again, it's how good they're running. They're just not getting those finishes, unfortunately, and you got to have those with it. It's a whole package. Now we're talking about who could turn it around at Martinsville this weekend. Let's look at what Darlington did. Most positions gained at Darlington. Austin Cindric, we just talked about that, gained 9 positions. He came in after Las Vegas in 30th and left Darlington in 21st. Chase Briscoe gained 4, going from 26th to 22nd. Brad Keselowski, with his great run, gained 3. These next 3 drivers all gained 3. Brad Keselowski went from 12th to 9th. Daniel Suarez, 17th to 14th. And he's in bold because that moves him into chase position right now. And then Eric Jones could have been better, but still gained 3 positions, going from 27th to 24th. Now, when you have drivers moving up and in, you got drivers moving down and out. And I hate to bag on him, but man, Joey Logano, it was brutal, just brutal. And I can't even repeat, I think, what he said on the radio of his own team. So he came in to Darlington 11th. He left 16th. That's a drop of 5 positions, right on the cut line now. John Hunter Nemechek went from 21st to 25th, lost 4, as did Riley Herbst. Again, had a good run going. Unfortunately, couldn't finish it. Went from 23rd to 27th. Kyle Larson went from 7th to 10th, also dropped 3, as did Michael McDowell and Ty Dillon. McDowell went from 14th to 17th, highlighted because that's who Daniel Suarez, teammate, actually pushed out of chase position. And then Ty Dillon went from 25th to 28th.
Good, the good side and the bad side. Okay, now Richard Childress Racing has had some struggles this season as well. They haven't had a top 10 finish through the first 6 races for the first time since 1982. RCR is the only multi-car team without a top 10 tip finish this year, and no top 10 finishes for RCR for the first time since, again, 1982. Their average finish of 22.3 is their worst since 2002, when it was at 24.4. So no drivers in the top 20 in points for RCR for the first time since 1982. Their best finish is a 12th by Austin Dillon out at Las Vegas. But they've had a dismal start to the season as well. It has not been good for RCR.
You know, and I heard a caller call into Dave Moody with that stat of that being the first time since 1982 that they don't have a top 10 through these 6 races. And I was just appalled. I mean, again, I knew they were struggling, but that's a lot of history to be breaking.
It is.
And here we got one. I personally think this has been kind of a quiet thing, but Ty Gibbs is really on a hot streak. He finished top 10 in the last 4 races. His longest ever top 10 finish streak in 5 races was in 2024. An average finish of 4.75 over the last 4 races is the best of all drivers over those races. And he ranks 5th in points earned over these last 4 races. He was on a top 5 streak. It had to go to a top 10 because he got 6th this past weekend.
Yes. But 6th is still good. I'm telling you, he's on a streak. Okay, Ryan Blaney's pit stop struggles. This is what has been hurting Ryan Blaney and that he's had to overcome all season long. The number 12 pit crew is ranked 35th overall. The average 4-tire pit stop is ranked 36th. Their best pit stop this season is ranked 21st, and they've lost 75 spots on pit road this season. They've had 3 loose wheels in the last 3 races, and they really need to clean that up. It's Ryan Blaney has passed so many cars on the racetrack because of his pit stop.
You know, that's one of those when they joke about it, and Blaney was in pretty good spirits after prior to the race, but they joked about that of passing 48 cars. That's the field and a half that you've passed at least once. But seeing these stats tells you how bad. 75 spots lost on pit road. Yeah, you got to more than clean that up. You got to fix that.
That's got to be fixed, and it's got to be fixed quickly because if they want him to remain. I mean, Ryan Blaney as a driver is what has saved that team all season.
Well, and as he said it, not just the driver, but it is a fast car, but you don't want to take that out of the driver's hand then of having to use up a fast car getting back to the front.
Exactly.
Now, we talked about maybe a driver getting their first win at Martinsville, a short track. Most starts on short tracks without a win, looking at active drivers. Michael McDowell at the top of the list, 88 starts. He's finished sixth twice. AJ Allmendinger, 83 starts, has finished second 2 times. Martinsville is one of those, kind of plays into his road racing background. Not sure they're in the right position this year. Ricky Stenhouse, 75 starts, also finished second twice. Eric Jones, 51 starts, best finish is second. Daniel Suarez, and I say this with the Spire Motorsports this season they've been having, 51 starts, best finish of seventh twice. Again, I'm not sure if Martinsville's the track, but this one I like. Bubba Wallace, 45 starts, third 2 times, 2311 is on it. Ty Dillon, 42 starts, best finish of 13th. Ross Chastain, believe it or not, is on a streak of 40 without a short track win. Third is his best finish. Ryan Preece has 2 times he's finished 5th in his 35 short track start. Tyler Reddick, we've been talking about him. 33 starts on short tracks, best finish of 3rd, could be his weekend. And then Chase Briscoe does have a 2nd place finish in his 28 starts.
It's the best average finish of Martinsville all time in a minimum of 6 starts. Lee Petty tops this list at 5.54 in 24 starts. That's pretty amazing. Jeff Gordon has 6.74 in 47 starts. Then you go down to Ryan Blaney at 8.15 in 20 starts. Cale Yarborough, 8.75 in 31 starts. Clyde Mentor, 8.8 in 10 starts. Rex White, 9.19 in 16 starts. Joe Weatherly, 9.69 in 13 starts. And Jimmy Johnson, 9.87 in 38 starts. I'm really impressed with Ryan Blaney being on this list in 3rd place.
He is, and he is the only active driver to be in that category there. I think we got a couple more that are building their legacy as it comes to Martinsville first off. And with that, man, I'm gonna use this to ask you, Sharon. You pick first because there's a lot of options here.
There are a lot of options here. You know who I'm going to pick, right?
You're gonna go with the favorite, your favorite?
My favorite, and I think pretty much the favorite as we've discussed here. I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney. I think he's got a good chance at pulling it off this year. We've talked about how he's had to overcome the adversities that happened from his pit crew and other things that have happened to him. So I do think he's got a good shot here at Martinsville.
He certainly does. I think maybe the odds-on favorite might be the Toyota of Denny Hamlin. You took a Ford, so I'm going to buck the trend then and be controversial. I'll go with Chevrolet getting their first one, and I'm going to give it to William Byron. I know Kyle Larson certainly could be. Chase Elliott, we got to see him come back to matching up with this next-gen car. You know, his Martinsville prowess was before the next-gen. So I'm going to go with William Byron and Hendrick Motorsports breaking that Chevy trend.
Well, yeah, I was going to say we're both bucking the Toyota trend here. We'll see what happens. I wouldn't be at all surprised, though, at all if Tyler Reddick comes home with another win this weekend. It would not surprise me.
Again, based on the year he's having, it wouldn't. But we just saw his best finish of 3rd at all short tracks, and Martinsville not being one typically known for him and his style. But he's been just doing unusual things this year. Yeah, so you're right. That wouldn't be. All right, one more before you go to closing here.
Okay.
Give me the first time winner. We see that's pretty rare at Martinsville. Give me one you think might be the first time winner. I was just going based off of the hot streak of Ty Gibbs. First time career, first time at Martinsville, first across the board. And he has been so close, running top 5 this year to continue that and get that win, which we do feel is coming. We're back to it being closer than it has been over the past year. So I take Ty Gibbs as that dark horse, and it is a dark horse, but
I think that's a good dark horse. I think Ty Gibbs is a good candidate for that. So, okay, let's go ahead and move on here to our watch list. We have our NASCAR Hot Topic Sound Off segment on Monday nights at 8:15. And we review the race over the weekend, all of the races over the weekend, and then discuss the hot topics related to those races. So that is on Mondays again at 8:15 Central Time. Tuesdays is our interview day. We put out Taz Taylor's interview. He is a flagger out at Dreamfield Speedway in New York. So he talks about what motivated him to become a flagger, what it took for him to become the head flagger at Dreamfield. So that was an interesting conversation. And then Wednesday is Race Chat Live Day, 6 o'clock Central Time. We have the live stream with the Race Chat Live guys, Chris Crichton, Taz Taylor, and CJ Sports. They all discuss the midweek top storylines as well as their thoughts about the previous race and the upcoming race. Taz gives his team ranking of the teams and how they're faring for the season so far. The previews that Jay and I do come out on Thursday and Friday, so watch for those. And then on Friday, Taz Taylor and I sit down and put together the fantasy report to discuss who your favorite picks might be for your fantasy picks for this upcoming race in the Cup Series for Martinsville. So we started all over again after the race weekend with Hot Topic Sound Off. So we hope you enjoy it as much as we enjoy doing it. And anything more you want to say, Jay, before we sign off?
Well, I'm out of teasers for Hot Topics on Monday, so I'll just say this. Somebody's mad at somebody, because I guarantee you that'll come to fruition.
I think you're right about that, Jay. So we'll have to watch that and see how it works out.
If nothing else, just to make that prediction true, I'll be mad at you, Sharon, just so I can say I predicted the truth.
Well, I'll just be mad back. Okay. So with that, everybody, we hope you enjoy the race weekend. This is Fan for Racing Radio. We'll see you on the other side of the weekend.
Enjoy the weekend.